Now,
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for our 32nd episode of Business Unusual. I know, isn't it fantastic? Today, we are going to be talking with you specifically about building a magnetic content and social selling strategy. Now, what I am going to share with you is that I want you to have a visual as we're going through the presentation today and as we get started. I want you to think about what magnets actually do in your business development or marketing efforts. And I am all about attracting the right people to your area of expertise. And my name's Brendan Filbert. I'm managing partner with SalesWorks. And my job all day, every day is helping you get in front of the right opportunity, whether that be your next client or whether it's a job opportunity. So I'm excited to be sharing this webinar with you today. Chris, you want to share your role?
I'm Chris Motley, and my job all day, every day is to make Brendan's eyes spin in opposite directions as much as possible. So actually, I run Motley Creations, where we make you look good.
And he really does.
It's basically like managed marketing services for small and medium-sized businesses with big goals. We also do some big corporations, things like that. And I help find right-sized solutions to execute on your marketing strategy and develop the brand image that you need to have. So I know that's a lot of kind of fancy words, but it boils down to we make you look good.
Yep, which is what we're going to do today. Our focus is we're going to be diving in to what can be a pretty big topic right now. Know that our conversations today, we're going to be staying at a 20,000 foot view. We're going to be talking a lot about the strategies that are working with social media, particularly since the pandemic have hit. Right. And we're also going to be sharing a lot of examples from across so many different industries, because I've got folks from all different places here on our call today. We've got, I think our furthest call coming in is from Alberta. Is anybody, so do a quick chat. Let's get a sense of where everybody's at that's logging into our call right now. So give us a quick chat. Let us know where you're at so that we can get a sense of what's going on across our parts of the country. North America, I think, is kind of where our territory is limited to with this. But let's just get a sense of where everybody's at right now.
New Jersey, okay. Kansas City, Kansas.
Well, we know Alberta. Veronica's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got somebody trying to help me.
Alberta, Calgary. Alberta, where they apologize for the weather. We're sorry, it's cold.
Fantastic. Okay, so as we kick things off, I'm very excited to see a lot of new faces on our call this morning. We're going to have a lot of fun with you today, and the goal is to make sure that you recognize that prospecting is something that doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be a huge waste of time, and we're here to help you figure out what strategies are working right now, particularly since we're kind of in a little bit of a chaotic environment right now. So as we get started, I am going to go ahead and kill my webcam, and we'll dive in and start the presentation. Ready to go?
Oh, certainly. So, and you may be asking yourself, I've been doing this for a while now. What's the big deal, right? I do social media all the time, on and on and on and on. Well, it's not much has changed, just everything. Everything has changed. The world is under a pandemic, which has never happened before, and so some of our businesses are gone. Some of our positions are just gone. Communicating is completely different. Sales, you may be used to doing events and things like that, and networking, and that's all over, right? Except for now it's online. Well, and sending emails, everybody's inbox is full right now. I think Brendan mentioned it earlier. It's just email after email after email, and so how do you stand out in that? How do you make a difference, right? How do you break through the clutter? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about is how to pivot in this time and how you break through the clutter. So next.
Fantastic.
So who are we talking to? right? Who is this? Who is this for? You may be, and this isn't the only people, but you may be a sales professional who, um, like I said earlier, is you go to events, you network with people, you send out emails and things that were maybe pretty responsive before the pandemic, and now things have changed, and you're trying to figure out just how you change with the times. You may be a business leader who wants to make an impact, or maybe your position is no longer there, right? And maybe you want to like transfer into fractional services or something like that, or
Or
maybe
launch a new business.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're a solopreneur, like little bit about Brendan and I as we were, working together as we usually do, and then the pandemic hit, and we are like-minded in that uh, we want to be of service. We have a servant's heart. We want to help people. So we started doing this just as kind of an answer. I looked at her and I said, what people do when they panic, they buy toilet paper. So what we need to do is be the voice of reason. So that's what kind of instigated us doing this, and so our hope is to help you kind of figure out your voice in this new world. Okay, next. So what we're
All
not
right,
talking about. Go ahead.
go ahead. Well, and I just want you to recognize also that a key part to where you're at right now is letting us know where you're at on your journey. And as questions and things like that are coming up and we start talking about a particular topic, particularly related to launching your business or securing your next engagement, the more we hear from our group today about where you are at individually, the better we can tailor our conversational points to your exact situation and scenario. So I just want to encourage you to use our conversation, even though you may be muted. Feel free to chat in and talk with us. Let's open a conversation to make sure that we are able to serve you here today. Because to Chris's point, when we started doing this, it's about making an impact and about helping you where you're at right now with your marketing and your sales strategy. So please make sure and just talk with us, because during this conversation that we're having for the next hour or so, we want to be able to leave you with at least one or two key ideas or strategies that you're going to be able to take and use in your business.
Right.
Okay, Chris, now you can talk about what we're not going to be talking about.
That's kind of yeah, okay. At first I want to say, hey, Julie, I get it. Computers can be frustrating. So why don't you, we'll send you out a link on Monday. You can watch this video, and Brendan and I would be happy to have like maybe a conference call with you on Monday if you have questions or things like that, because I hate it when people get discluded because of technical issues. So I apologize for that. Anyway, what we're not talking about this AM is, how to write your profile. We have done in the past some really nuts and bolts stuff about MailChimp and things like that and how it works, and talked about CRMs and things like that. This is going to be a 10,000 foot. This is going to be strategy. This is going to be how to speak to people. This is going to be where to speak to people, and how to get response and things like that. It's not going to be how to use Facebook in business or how to use LinkedIn in business, other than what your strategy should be.
And I do want to share with you, one of our sponsors for this session is the Women's Business Center. And they are either in the middle of or just wrapping up an amazing series on social media. And they do have some phenomenal nuts and bolts and the 101 basics on the different platforms. And I think they dug into LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm not sure if they did Instagram. I know they did Twitter, but that is something that you should for sure go check out their YouTube channel to be able to see some of those basic classes on the how to and the etiquette, because it is very important that you present yourselves professionally. And there are some key things that you can do in how you structure your strategy to that platform. And I want to encourage you to get help. And know that also in the link that we sent out for the weekly emails, where I told you we send out the reminder links, that has a link to the Women's Business Center event page and also their YouTube channel.
Exactly. So I'm going to turn it back. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Brendan. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Fantastic. All right. So one thing that I want you all to recognize is that everybody is on social media right now. So much so that I have parents that really didn't have a whole lot of interest in anything related to social media, that they're in the middle of it now, all the way to it's not just for kids. It's how people are connecting right now. And social media usage has more than doubled since the pandemic. Also, people are leveraging online content, doing online searches. They are still buying. If you look at what's happening just in the economy right now, there are a ton of people that are making some big moves with implementing new strategies and things in their businesses. I don't want you to miss the boat. And there's a whole lot of people that haven't even made it to the dock yet. They're still just sitting on the sidelines, hoping that we're going to get back to the way things were like tomorrow, and that's not going to happen. It's even if all of a sudden things open back up from the pandemic, there's going to be entire segments of business that have shifted dramatically because of this. And I'm going to encourage you to, if there's nothing else that you walk out of today with, recognize that this is something that you need to have an understanding of and you need to adopt in your own prospecting strategies. So now let's do a quick poll within our group. Do me a favor and chat in, or go to the questions pane and let me know, what platforms are you on right now? And it's a case of where are you at related to your marketing and sales effort, and also your own personal platforms where you hang out in order to capture the news feed.
It may be Facebook, it may be LinkedIn, YouTube.
Okay, we've got somebody who's just getting into Instagram right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Facebook and LinkedIn is pretty popular, yeah.
Yep.
LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn is good. Business social media, yeah.
Okay. All right, and then, okay, so Jennifer, where is your profile posted at?
Psychology profile only. It's for therapists.
Yes. So is that like a forum group? Okay. All right. So we've got kind of the big three that we're going to be talking about today. And the big three, so I'm going to share with you kind of who our big three is. Our big three are blogging. So our content, what we focus on as far as having thought leadership and original content that we share. And then also we're going to be talking quite a bit about Facebook, quite a bit about LinkedIn, because those two platforms, you have to approach them a little bit differently from each other. You know, Facebook is more the where you have the conversations and the personal relationships, and LinkedIn, you think about it like that's your chamber networking event. And as we dive in, what I want you to do is I want you to think about, and there's this meme that's really cute that talks about what each social media strategy is, and they walk through it compared to, I think it's making donuts. And it's the business of making donuts is on LinkedIn, and how yummy this donut is and what flavor I'm eating is the Facebook, and then Instagram is the picture of you eating your donut, and Twitter is the 500 ways that you can use a donut. And there's just, so it's a case of you think about it in a way that it was presented to me that was really good. Is LinkedIn is your professional networking. So it's everything that you would do from the business perspective. And then Facebook is more about the family reunion and the conversation or dinner with friends. And then Twitter is the cocktail reception where you're going to have a 2-minute conversation with 30 people in an evening. And if you just think about your different strategies as we're talking through the points today, that kind of helps you with framing what your approach needs to be in order to engage with that particular audience. And that leads us to what our purpose is behind our social media and our content strategy. Understand that everything that we talk about, and this is part of the reason why Chris and I form such a great team, is because you have marketing and sales when you think about that coin of revenue generation. Marketing is all about your branding, and it's all about generating the leads and whatever your strategies are to generate those leads. And then sales has to be about taking that lead and converting it to an opportunity. And what I want you thinking about related to this is that this is about opening a conversation and engaging and pulling them into your universe so that you can connect with them one-to-one. So with that in mind, I want you to think about every tactic that you're going to be employing as what is my overall strategy to get them into my universe and have a conversation with them. So it's not just about putting a whole bunch of information out there and hoping that they'll like you and be impressed by your grasp of your subject matter. It really has to be about they want to engage with you and build a relationship, because a relationship does not happen at a distance. It's not going to happen from a blog post. It happens when they are happy to share with you their email address and engage in a conversation and schedule a one-to-one meeting or perhaps a visit. And there's just a lot of that you need to make sure that you have in the back of your mind. Otherwise, we end up in a few spots that are not productive with our social media effort. So some of the big questions that I'm hearing from people right now related to social selling is, what's the point? Why am I doing this right now? And I'm going to get lost. There are so many people that think that, well, everybody is on social media right now. That means that there's a ton of voices out there, and you do get lost in a crowd. So what you have to recognize is where it fits in your priority of activity and how to make sure that everything that you share becomes a priority of your prospect. And that's something else that I want to make it super clear. And Chris talks about this all the time. I'm going to steal his line from him. It's, everybody's walking around the world thinking about one person, and it's not you.
It's not.
It's not. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that everything that we're talking about is in a manner that says, you're that person that they can talk to and that they can come to with questions and when they need resources. And that leads us into the how to say it. So I encourage you to recognize that you have a voice in how you deliver your message and how you engage with your prospect. And the voice right now that is so important to have, and it used to be, I used to be a Sandler sales coach many years ago. And I don't know if anybody on the call is familiar with Sandler, but it's a very direct approach to engaging with prospects. And you have to be willing to ask really tough questions and help your prospects recognize where they're at. And sometimes those questions, well, for one, there was one trainer in town and I didn't always agree with his philosophy and how he'd use this question. But one of his favorite questions to ask was, have you always accepted mediocrity, or was it just recently you decided it was okay to lower your standards?
Oh, man.
Now, let me tell you, that voice is not resonating right now. Being direct and being that tough love voice right now isn't necessarily what people are engaging with, because we got a whole lot of that going on. There's a lot of division, there's a lot of strife, there's a lot of anger. And I do have to tell you, and Chris actually shared a video with me that was, which one was it? It wasn't the No Safe Spaces, it was that other one.
Was it the social media one, or?
Yes, the one about social media.
It's the Social Dilemma.
Yes, that's it. So if you have not read or if you have not listened to that or watched the documentary yet that's on Netflix right now, you do need to go watch it. Because the thing that's interesting is you see how the AI
Mhm.
is working on so many of the social platforms, and recognize that people, right now we're being, I think in a lot of cases, the big tech companies and the algorithms are manipulating the feed and everything that's coming at people, and it's showing what they know is going to get people the most engaged. And right now, anger and just cranky posts tend to get people more engaged than puppies and kittens. And it's very frustrating because I would much rather see posts about puppies and kittens and foals, all those lovely baby horses. That's what I want to see. And you're going to get lost if the AI isn't showing that you're promoting content that people are engaging with. So what you have to do is you have to almost think about it like clickbaity. And when I say clickbaity, it's you need to think about what is going to make someone want to click on your picture or click on the image or click on the post. And it's so important that you think about that with everything that you're posting. So if you're going to post text, you want to make sure that the text is accompanied by an image or a visual. And we're going to get into some of that here in just a little bit. But it's just really important that you think about not only the what you're going to say, but recognize that you want to engage using the algorithms and how the platforms are circulating insight and information, and know that this is a bit of a battle, because I'm telling you that on one hand they're not sharing posts that are positive, but yet I'm telling you to be positive with everything that you're sharing. And it's part of that. You've got to recognize that magnetic strategy and that you want to engage the right people, and the right people are going to be looking for the puppies and the kittens in their day. And so just be thinking about that, what to say, how to say it, where do you post, and the when you post and all that other stuff. There are some of these questions that you are going to want to go dig into some of the basic programs that there are on social media as far as the time of day to post and all that other stuff. And that's not what we're going to get into today with this, but I do want you to have access to those resources in order to get there. So there may be a few other big questions that you have about social media. And Chris is actually going to dig in and talk about some of the things that you want to keep in mind about avoiding.
Right. And then thank you, Brenda. It's I love the saying random tactic looking for a strategy, that comes from a friend of ours, that um, which is seems to be what a lot of people tend to do on social media, or even in their marketing in general. What I always talk about is, back in the day, before all this stuff that can be traced and put into your CRM and things like that, that people, you'd ask a CMO, well, how do you market? And he'd go, well, you take 40% of last year's gross and you throw it out the window, right? And now it's all can be traced and it can all be tracked, and you need to, as Brendan always talks about, you need to figure out who you're talking to and come up with a profile for that, and then find out, if I'm talking to uh, married mothers, between 25 and 35, that have like two children, of toddler age or less, and on and on and on and on, then I know where those people hang out and I know what they're interested in and I know how to speak to those. Does that mean you don't want the rest of them? No, you want the rest of them, but it saves you money in your marketing and your advertising to pick your media, your images, and your voice, right? So don't be a random tactic looking for a strategy. Don't just start throwing things up and hoping it sticks. Sit down and plan it out first. Don't be a time suck or a black hole. I mean, everybody's inbox is full right now. And what I like to remind people is that you want to start a conversation, not finish it. Right. And again, as we spoke about earlier, everybody's thinking about one person. It's not you. So if you start sending out emails of, this is how great I am, and then you send another one the next day, this is how great this guy thinks I am, and then send another one the next day, this is what I told him and he told them, and then he referred somebody and this is what they said. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? You want to be positive and offer solutions, and what we kind of try to do is give them a 10,000-foot view of, maybe you should do it this way, maybe this would help you, and if you want to find out more, get a hold of us. We don't want to keep you sitting and reading an email that's 15 pages long, right? We want to be in and out, and if you want to have a real conversation about it, because your advertising doesn't sell. It doesn't sell anything. You sell. People sell, right? You want to get that conversation started. So don't be a used car. Don't use used car sales tactics. And I think it's hilarious because once upon a time, guess what Brendan did?
Me, I get to sell cars. If I can get the facts and figures to your satisfaction, will you buy and drive today?
Right.
Something I never, ever, ever said.
Right. And a lot of things, what I talk to people is what I say to them usually, and I mean it. This is not a tactic. It's not a gimmick. Is give me a call. Let's talk about this, and we're going to find you a solution, whether it's me or not. We're going to get what you need done. Right. I may have to refer you. And that's the honest way that I look at things. And it's the honest way that Brendan looks at things is we want to help you find the answer that you need, whether it is with us or not.
And in a lot of cases, it may not be us. That's the other thing that you have to think about is whether or not most of your prospects come to you because of a symptom or because of a real ailment. So what that means specifically, people will always talk about, I want to sell more stuff and I want to increase my sales and I want to increase my profitability. And then normally what we discover throughout our initial conversations is that they may not even be able to scale if they got more business. They may not recognize how they're going to serve enough clients in order to justify a marketing plan or approach.
Yeah.
So
they don't know what they don't know yet. And often the problem that they bring to you is not the problem, right? Because they don't know. And sometimes it takes an outside person to, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? So sometimes you have to go in and tell them your baby's ugly, right? And and we don't do it to be mean. It's just, this is what we need to do, right? So be mindful. We always, the last thing I'll say on this is my attitude has always been, when I was young, it was, what's in it for me, right? And the answer was always not enough. And that's what I loved about Brenda when I met her years and years and years ago. I'm not going to tell you how many because that'll tell you how old we are. But when I met her, one of the things is she had the same attitude as I, is what can I bring? What can I bring to this situation, right? And that changes your outlook completely from what's in it for me, right? So I think that's
I want to share just a really quick couple of do's here on this particular slide before we move on real quick. I want to add to what Chris has said. So the thing that you want to think about related to your social selling and your content is that it does deserve a spot in your regular activities in your calendar. And that time that you spend is productive, high payoff activities, but it's not all time that you spend on it. So I would allocate, if this is a primary marketing strategy for you, for instance, I do a lot of blogging and I have Monday morning allocated for all of my efforts related to my content. Now, I'll typically spend 1 day per quarter just mapping out what my outlines are going to look like and that overall content. And we are going to talk about that. I think it's in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing an episode just on blogging. So you're going to want to make sure that you stay tuned for that episode that's coming up. But I spend my time on Monday mornings, and then during the week, I'm on social media for about 15 minutes in the morning. And then normally I'm back on it. My side hustle is selling horses, and Facebook is my primary area that I sell horses on. So I spend a bit more time on Facebook, particularly of an evening, because that's when my buyers are there. But I schedule time and I stay within the boundaries of that scheduled time, because otherwise you will get drawn in. And watching The Social Dilemma, it certainly helps you understand why you're getting drawn in and how the system is working, not necessarily for you, and how to make sure that you are just aware that it's a pool and we don't want to drown in it.
Right.
And then the black holes are where you can get drawn into conversations that are not productive for you to be in, and they're not contributing to your brand. And I'm seeing this happen so many places. But the flip side of it is we also do have to recognize that people are going to want to align with you, that share your philosophy and values. And we do want to be that positive voice that's out there. And we do want to be able to stand for what we believe in and there's actually a really good, we did one of our sessions, and I think it was called Marketing at the End of the World, that we had someone who was her area of expertise was related to PR around very difficult issues. And she works with big law firms and has helped companies that have been in massive trouble, how to navigate and make sure that their voice is positive and getting them back on the right track where they need to be. So if you get a chance, you should go check in on that particular episode. Her name's Katie Barnard, and I don't remember which one of the episodes it is, but it's a really, really good one that helps you recognize what your voice can be and how you can stand for something. So just make sure that you think about, again, it's the overall strategy about what we're going to do related to our content and our distribution of content. And don't just do it as I got to find something to post about, so let me go grab an article. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that what we're doing is keeping us on track with that overall goal of building relationships.
Right.
So Chris, was there anything else you wanted to add on this one?
Just a couple quick ones, because we got a lot of good stuff to get to, but as Brendan said before, a little bit of stay away from topics that divide, right? So I like letting your personality out and things like that, and I like, choosing your voice, and be it, humorous or serious or entertaining in some way, but you can serve people and do a good job without touting your political beliefs or religious beliefs and things like that. And it's just, you just don't know who you're going to offend when you post these humorous things that are making fun of one side or the other, right? So I'd like to tell you to kind of be careful with that, and always, think about who you're talking to and how they like to be talked to, right? And like Brendan said, don't just go find an article. What I like to do is think about, when I sit down to write a blog, is think about, what problem did I solve this week for somebody, right? What question was I asked by one of my clients? And then kind of do something towards that, right? Write something towards that. And because people buy for emotional reasons, and I don't want to get into all this right now, because that's not what this is about, is how people buy. But what you want to do is earn some emotional equity or build some emotional equity with people, and you do that by solving problems. So let's move on.
All righty. Now we're going to dive into the what's working now. We're going to spend some time on this slide, and if you've got a notebook and a pen handy, you're probably going to want to take a few notes. Also, you may have questions right now, and this is your opportunity to chat them in as I'm going through the what's working now, because what's interesting about the social media strategies is that we are lost in a feed right now, and recognize that the only thing that's going to be shared on Facebook is something that people are really going to want to look at. And if it's not going to be getting the attraction and the audience, Facebook isn't going to promote it in the feed. So you want to make sure that you're not just, so for example, I'm going to use my horse business as an example right now. If I just post a picture of one of my horses that I have for sale, that's not going to get the image that I will get if I post a picture of my daughter riding that horse and doing something fun with it. Like we've got the cutest picture that shows her wearing a t-shirt that says hold your horses, and my daughter has beautiful blonde hair, and we have a beautiful horse that has a flaxen mane and tail that is the exact same color as my daughter's hair. So she's here holding the horse, and he's got his head kind of curled towards her, and it's the sweetest picture because they're just really into each other, and you certainly see that love affair with the horse going on. And it's a really cool image, and that image got more clicks and more likes and more comments. But then throughout the feed I talk about, there's a link, you can go check out this horse, he's for sale. And you know what, if you've got blonde hair, you may want to be the person in this image. You've got to have something that captures their attention, and you only have 3 seconds to do it in. So if you think about 3 seconds, that's roughly not even a tweet. So that is kind of your headline. You've got maybe 10 words or so, or an image. Visuals are so powerful right now in capturing people's attention. So if you're going to post something on LinkedIn, and this is something that Chris pointed out to me 2 weeks ago, he said, anytime you post something, it can be a great comment and people can engage and have conversations, and you have 100 views of that post. And if you post a visual with it, you're going to have 500 views of that post. And so it's important that everything that you do right now, you really think about that visual that's going to engage, because more than 40% of the population out there is a visual learner, which means they're going to see something and want to engage with it. And then at that point they will. And Chris, can you just do me a quick favor and share a couple of places where folks can get some amazing images?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this here, and it's okay. So there's a place that I use a lot called Vect Easy, which I'll put into the questions pane here shortly. Vecteasy.com, and it's literally, if you want to use these photos for free, you can. They have a pro and a free offering, and you can download the free ones, but you have to attribute them. So in the very tiny type around it, you have to say, image owned by Vecteasy or whatever, vecteasy.com. And then there's also one called freepics.com, which I will, once I'm done speaking here, I'll put them into the questions pane. But it's the same thing. And just so you know, Vecteasy is like, I think it's $100 for a year, and you can get many, 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 many images for nothing, right? Almost nothing. So.
And that's the thing that's really important. And when I first started doing this, I got to thinking, wow, that's a lot of money to come up with images. But when you start thinking about how much professional photography and the impact that it makes. So if you think about putting together a post and any type of social media, if you want that effort to pay off, you're probably going to have to invest in it. And this is an area that I'm going to suggest that you invest in. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is, so like I've got Veronica and a few other people on here that are my fellow horse professionals, and you're probably not going to find those amazing pictures on Vect Easy. And it's a case of, if you have something that is very, if it's very niche market focused, you do need to find some place that you can get amazing images, or you need to make your own. You're going to need to invest in quality equipment. Like I had to go buy a new camera, and now I'm getting ready to go. I have to buy another new one. So you've got to, the difference between putting out content that has 10 people click on it and like it versus a post that has 50 people click on it or 500, that's the difference between whether or not Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever platform deems your content worthy of sharing. And recognize that when you're on these platforms, you are a product to them. And if you think about it, like the way that the advertising world works is it's all about something that's going to drive ratings, which is, and that's how it used to be measured in the days of regular TV and radio, is what are the ratings on this particular program? And you would end up getting ad placement on programs that had higher ratings, and you'd pay more for it, knowing that you would have more views. Well, the way that social media is working right now is if you promote content that is highly rated by the platform, as in people engage with it, they click on it, they comment, they like, they share, you are going to be one of those primetime programs. And the platform is going to blast it out all over the place. And if your content does not get that reach, then they're not going to share it at all. It's like you're going to be sitting on that dusty road that never gets any traffic. It's not even, it didn't even get graveled. It's still a dirt path or a deer path through the woods. You're not going to have any eyeballs through it. So that's why it's so important that you think about what really is going to have someone that says, I want some of that. And so you've got your headline, you've got your visuals. Now let's talk about videos, because I know so many people are really not comfortable with video. Let's just do a quick poll. Tell me, are you all in with doing videos? Are you good with that? Is it something you're comfortable with, or you're not quite there yet? You're having a hard time with it. Okay, we got a few people on here.
Good with it, yeah. That's it. Somebody else had mentioned, and I answered Veronica's statement with 3 different sites, and one of them is Pexels, which I forgot to mention. They also have a video offering. They have a video site that you can download free videos, again, with attributions. So, and
okay,
you know, as Brendan said, with cameras and stuff like that, what I want you to understand really quickly, and I don't want to go way down this rabbit hole, but your phone, if you have like an iPhone or whatever, your camera and your video on there is outstanding now, way better than what they used to be. So you don't necessarily need to spend tons and tons of money. So anyway, back to you, Brendan.
But so speaking of that, so you can use your iPhone, and like we're doing right now, we're doing a video, and I'm just using my webcam off my computer, but you can set this up so that while you're doing a webinar or regular content, you can also put your iPhone on a stand and actually be having video that you can put in 2 different places. For instance, I could be doing this on my phone and doing a Facebook Live at the same time I'm doing my webinar that I'm delivering for you right now. There are so many different things that we can be doing with the same effort across different platforms. But recognize that Facebook especially is going to drive your profile and your traffic based on engagement, but they also are really pushing videos because they get that visual engagement. So get on board with Facebook Lives, and you're going to do Facebook Lives on your business page, not so much on your personal profile. I will tell you that they're starting to crack down on that just a bit right now. So it's a case of you do want to have your personal profile that's out there so people can connect with you, but they want to see a separation. So if they catch you really doing a ton of stuff promoting a product or service and it's on your personal profile, then they have a tendency to, they're just cracking down on some of this right now. So if you want your stuff to get shared, the last thing you want to do, and there are many of us that are struggling with that whole selling animals on Facebook, because they came out a while back and had these laws, or not laws, there were the rules internally to Facebook of what you could and could not sell. Well, what those of you who are selling horses and experiencing this are saying, yes, I'm feeling this, also recognize that I feel it on selling business offerings as well. So it's really not about the animal sales. It's about Facebook recognizing that a lot of people are making money on their platform and they want to participate in that. And if there's revenue to be made, they want their piece of the pie. So it's not necessarily about PETA or any particular type of animal rights. It's just economic. And visuals and video and all these things, they help Facebook make money off of you, because then they're going to interject more ads into the feed, and that gets more eyeballs on their ads. But the flip side of this is when we start doing Facebook Lives, you have the opportunity to do advertising on that platform. And it is a very good platform to be advertising on for particular products and services. So, and we will be doing an episode on that coming up. Probably, I'd say by the end of the year, we're definitely going to have to slot this in, Chris,
Right.
because it is something that is an incredibly powerful platform to advertise on. And we want you to be able to take advantage of that. Okay, Chris, this one's you.
You got it. So, sorry, I was answering a question here. So what you want to do here is be very, consider who you're speaking with, right? And I want you to be very specific in your messaging, right? So be kind. And if you've read the article that we sent out, it's kind of talking about who we're, how to send out your content and things like that. So, and we're not just talking about social media. This can be, you should be repurposing your content, right? Maybe you write a short article that you send out in a weekly newsletter, and then you take some of that content, just a short snippet out of that, and then you post it to LinkedIn or share it with on a Twitter feed or something like that, right? With a link back to the full article, so that people can go back to your website. You always want to drive them back to your website, right? So, and you don't put the whole article anywhere really. So, but be kind. Meet them, like Brendan wrote the article, and one of the things she said was meet them where they are right now. We've spoke about this a lot on several different presentations that we have done. Recognize what their issues are and build rapport with them, and be kind in your approach, be helpful, show suggestions, and one of the things that Brendan talks about a lot in when you're out trying to find sales and things like that, when you're prospecting, is to give them an idea of what the help looks like for free from 10,000 foot, right? And then the ones that you really want to get will look at that free help and go, man, that was free. I wonder what paying you get, right? If I pay her, what kind of help will I get? And so it makes an impact on them. It makes it easier to sell, right? Instead of doing that, like we talked about earlier, that used car kind of speech with people. Speak to the issues that they face. I just watched a webinar done through Women's Business Center. It was fantastic, and what she suggested was to come up with a profile of who your typical prospect is, and then speak specifically to that person and the problems that they are having. So, and they have companies that they help that have done that, and everything they write, any of the content that they write specifically to that person. They give them a name. They chose a picture at random, and that kind of thing so that they can specifically design the content that they're putting out and build emotional equity with these people. It also, one of the things that Brendan had said was it also weeds out the dabblers from the doers, right? So I don't know about you, but I used to get caught in like voicemail hell, right? So you have a conversation with somebody and they say, well, let me think about it, right? And to me that's the worst place that you could end up at. So Brendan, anything you want to add?
Well, and this is just a quick tip of how, whenever I think about putting together a post or a blog, anything that I'm going to do, what I will actually do is pull up the profile whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on LinkedIn, of the exact audience, the person that I'm talking to. And I'm not talking about a profile group. I'm talking about, I'm going to go pull up Veronica's Facebook post or her profile. I'm going to look at her pictures. I'm going to look at her feed. And then my message is, I'm going to think about, how can I be helpful for Veronica right now, based on where she's at and the challenges that she's facing. And I'm going to think about, what is her most pressing problem that I can solve for her at this moment in time. And then with that post, I want to solve that problem and I want to make an impact. And at the same time, I also then want to make it easy for Veronica to recognize how she can help me. And maybe how she can help me is by hiring me to solve a problem, or maybe it's sharing my post with someone that she knows would benefit from this same information. There needs to be that call to action with every single piece that you do. Even if the call to action is, now based on this information, I want you to change your behavior in this way to get to a different outcome. But we always want to make sure that we have that very clear path that we lay out with each one of our posts. And the path ideally is going to end up moving them into our funnel. And now with that, I want to dive in here for just a minute, because this is so important right now. More along the lines of the what's working now. People are doing business with people that they like and that they engage with, and that they feel that you get them. So your voice, you really need to be speaking to why you do what you do. You need to be talking about why you are called or being compelled to serve in some way, shape, or form right now. So make sure that whatever you do, so we have someone on the call who's launching a business in January. In order to prepare to make the most of that launch, what you can do right now related to social media and your content strategy is you can be relating the fact that you understand what business leaders are challenged by at this moment in time, and the fact that they need help, and you recognize that they need help, and they're not alone, and you are here to help them navigate through, because there's a lot of people right now that are scared, and we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And while we're navigating through the pandemic, who knows what's next? I think this has certainly helped us recognize that we've got clay feet, and it's something that it does provoke a lot of fear, and you have to recognize that your prospects are experiencing that, and so they want to know that you are someone they can be safe with and they can be vulnerable with. And that requires that you don't always be quite as polished or as buttoned up. And that goes to the fact that you can share a lot of professional pictures and show you in a suit and tie, but there may be images that would be just you hanging out with your family or doing something you really enjoy doing. Like, I get more views with me playing with my horse than I do presenting in front of a room. And it's because people know that that's close to my heart. And that's something that's really important right now, that we do dive in, and again, it's meeting people where they are right now. And today's conversation was all about helping you recognize that the world has changed. We are someplace different. And if you are approaching your prospects with the same tired strategies that may have worked 10 years ago, they are not working now. And I just really want to encourage you to recognize that where we're at, we're in a brave new frontier. And it's kind of like when in the old days of the Wild West, they'd start mining new territory and you'd strike gold in a lot of places. And we have that opportunity now with our businesses and with serving people, because they need a lot of help and they're happy to reach out and ask for it and engage with us, but they want to know that when they do, they're going to be safe. Okay, now this one is pretty important. I want you to recognize that you need to get people off of the platform. And when you get them off of the platform, they need to engage in your email. You need to capture an email. Oops, sorry about that. You need to engage in an email. My thing is flipping around all over the place. Instead of clicking, it was rolling. So we want to make sure that we capture their email, we bring them into our CRM, we engage in a conversation one-to-one, and we schedule that next stage. You provide value, you recognize where they're at, what their challenges are, what they're dealing with. But they need to move from the platform to the funnel. So you need to have that very clear engagement strategy. So to that end, I actually want to demonstrate what this might look like for you. So for example, we have the weekly webinar series that I shared with you. We've got one webinar every week that's focusing on your marketing and sales effort. The Women's Business Center is focused on creating content around helping small businesses and startups navigate through the pandemic, everything related to business planning, launching a business, tax planning, all this other kind of stuff. They've got tons of content that they're doing on a weekly basis. Well, something that Chris and I have developed, and Chris was actually the very first one that helped us with creating one of our fabulous workbooks for this foundation program. Productive prospecting is how we work with people that are wanting to just put more of a framework around their sales and marketing effort. Now, if this topic that we have chatted with you about today is of interest to you, Chris and I are putting together a challenge that's going to be coming up. And you can hop in on the wait list for that challenge that you'll be receiving free training around your prospecting effort. And if you want to dive into that and experience what we can do for you and the impact we can make at a deeper level, then we've got a sign up page, or you can just chat it to me in the messages and let me know that you'd like in on the challenge. And I will keep you posted on what we're doing to help you prepare for that, because this is going to be roughly a 30-day challenge. And again, it's free for participants in the webinar. There will be a cost to anybody else that comes into it from social media. But if you've been a follower of this program, then we would love to have you in on it. And we want to support those who are supporting our effort with getting this program off the ground and launched. So just let me know if that's something that you would like to participate in. So we've covered so much ground today, and I know we're running over on time. Hopefully, we've left you with some ideas around what you need to be shifting in your own social selling and your content strategy to be making the most of it. And know that we are going to be diving more deeply into some of these topics in upcoming episodes. But today we wanted to just get out that overall, here's what you need to be aware of so that you don't get left behind and you are able to participate in all the opportunities that are being shared. Chris, what else would you share?
No, I think this program is wonderful. The productive prospecting is, when she first came up with it, I would say the only way I can say it is it blew the top of my head off. And it seems like now it seems just like basic information. And for me, it changed how I did business. So I'd highly recommend it. And I want to thank you all for showing up today. And I hope you found some kind of value in some of the information that we've provided for you. If you have any kind of questions or anything, you can get a hold of this. This is both of our contact information. You can contact us. We'd be happy to sit down and have a conversation with you, further explore how we can be of help. Thank you all for coming out. And I know you're busy and you have a lot of things going on, and we appreciate your time.
And Veronica, if you want to hang out for just a minute once we close out the recording, I'll answer your question. And what Veronica had asked about specifically was related to the pay-to-play philosophy that Facebook has around if they want you to pay for advertising. So I'm happy to chat with you a bit about that if you have a few minutes to hang out afterwards. And if anybody else has any questions around that, we're happy if you want to hang out. But I know Chris needs to wrap up our recording, so I want to leave everyone with one thought. To get what you want, you must help others get what they want. I'm going to wish you a great day and good selling.
Thanks, everybody.